Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. Today is our part 10 of our AZ-900 Real Exam Question and Answer series. Today we are going to cover 10 very important questions for AZ-900 exam starting from question number 131 to question number 140. If you are new to this channel or have missed any part in this series, I just need to tell you that we have already covered 130 questions in earlier 9 parts. Each question is carefully picked for exam point of view. Friends, this channel is not only to give you just question and answer pool, but my main focus is that by the time you have certificate in your hand, you should also have a workable understanding on Azure Cloud. And that's the reason I share proper Microsoft documentation, detailed justification, and explained each concept so you understand why a certain answer is correct. Important links are also shared in each video. Tips and tricks are also there in some of the parts. So don't miss any of these parts before you appear for the AZ-900 certification exam. And I'm sure that you will score very high in the certification. So let's begin our part 10 with question number 131. The question says that recommend a tool to automatically send an alert if an administrator stops an Azure virtual machine. Your options are Azure Logic Apps, Azure Machine Learning Designer, Azure Monitor, or Azure Advisor. The correct answer for this question is Azure Monitor. If you want to learn more about Azure Monitor, then this is a good page to start with. On this page, you will find overview on Azure Monitor. You will just scroll down. There is a video, a nice one, where you can understand. However, they have explained this diagram below as well. If you will come a little down here, in this overview section, you can see this diagram, which beautifully explains how you can use Azure Monitor. So over on the left hand side, you can see various sources from where you can collect metrics or logs from, like application, operating system, Azure resources, subscription, or Azure tenant. And then you also have a ability to bring in your custom sources as well. Then once you have collected these logs or metrics, you can push these logs to other functions that will ingest these logs and matrices to build out more business specific insights. So for example, you can put this log or push these logs to insights. Then you can visualize these logs using applications like Power BI. Then you can analyze these logs or respond. If you want to build an alert mechanism based on some logs or metrics, then you can also build the same. Then you can also integrate the logs with Logic Apps or export APIs. So it's an interesting page to learn the Azure Monitor, which I say is a very important service from Azure, because these days all the applications and services generate a lot of logs. Valuable insights are hidden in those logs. So a great service to explore. Now, before I jump into the question number 132, I just want to give you an overview of other services as well, because you never know what question can come in your Microsoft AZ-900 exam. So at least you should have an overview of other services at back of your mind. So let's begin with Azure Logic App. Logic App is a cloud-based platform for creating and running automatic workflows that integrate your app, data, service, and system. It's a very interesting service from Microsoft. I have been using Logic Apps in my applications, and it gives a versatile capability to build automated workflows. So go and check out. I will provide some links where you can explore more on Logic Apps. Moving on with Azure Machine Learning Designer, this actually gives you a drag and drop interface that you can use to train or deploy model in Azure Machine Learning. Coming to the Azure Advisor. So Azure Advisor is a kind of a recommendation service that analyzes your configuration and usage, and then it helps you to follow best Microsoft Azure practices. So great service to look for. If you want to learn more on Azure Advisor, then on this Azure portal, you can come down here. You see here, it's a Azure Advisor. Here you can click on. Otherwise, when you have some recommendations from Microsoft, you can also see the pop-up coming on your bell icon. So if you will click that bell icon, you can see it says that successfully refreshed recommendations for Azure Advisor. So if you want to explore what are the recommendations that were given, you can come down here on the advisor section, and here you can see there will be a lot of advices that Microsoft gives you based on your configuration or usage pattern, and it gives you recommendation on cost, security, reliability, and many more. So I would say whenever you are using Azure, this is the space that you want to come very often so that you can learn and gain insights on Microsoft best practices. Now moving on to the question number 132. The question says that Azure billing is attached on what level? Is it attached on resource group level, or is it on Azure Active Directory level, or is it on Azure subscription level? To answer this question, let me again take you to the Azure portal. Now, if you come to the Azure portal, let me just switch to the home page once again. And here you can see the subscription. However, if you don't find it here, then you can always come down to this left-hand side blade. And you have to come down to the subscription. If you click subscription, then here you can see the name of my subscription ID, the role I have in my Azure portal, and then you can also see the current cost. So this is my current cost. Because I am in Sweden, that's why the cost is shown in Swedish krona, which is a Swedish currency. So you can see this is my current cost. And as you can already notice that the cost is always associated, or your billing is always associated to the subscription. And that's exactly the answer of this question. So always remember that Azure billing is attached to subscription. Moving on with question number 133. This one says a common platform for deploying objects to a cloud infrastructure and for implementing consistency across the Azure environment. Is it Azure policies, or is it resource group, or Azure resource manager template, or is it management group? The correct answer for this question is Azure Resource Manager Templates, or popularly known as ARM template. You can read more about ARM template on this page. Here you can see that to implement infrastructure as a code for Azure solution, use Azure Manager Template, or as I said, ARM template. The template is a JavaScript object notation or JSON file that defines the infrastructure and configuration for your project. Further down on this page, you can also read why to choose ARM template. So it talks about declarative syntax. What is the syntax of ARM template? Then you can expect always repeatable results when you are using ARM templates. So few of the reasoning why you should choose ARM template for your deployments. Besides that, just to give you a glimpse of Azure policy actually helps you to enforce the standards or access the compliance at a scale. So this option or Azure policy is more related to compliance thing. So it's not related to deploying objects. So coming to the resource group provides you ability where you can manage related resources in Azure in a more efficient way. The management group, on the other hand, is, let's say your organization has multiple subscriptions. So now you need some mechanism to efficiently handle that those subscription. So that's where management groups come into picture. So it gives you a mechanism to handle multiple subscription if you have. Moving on with question number 134. This one says that you have an Azure environment. You need to create a new virtual machine from a tablet that runs on Android operating system. What are three possible solutions? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. So your options are use Bash in Azure Cloud Shell, use PowerShell in Azure Cloud Shell, use Power Apps, CMD prompt, or use Azure Portal. Now, I have talked a lot about Azure Cloud Shell in my previous videos as well. But of course, for the betterment of people who have just joined us on this channel, let me show you a quick glimpse of Azure Cloud Shell. So here, if you see this icon, which looks like a prompt, if you click on this, Then you can see a terminal window opening up. It's connecting or requesting a Cloud Shell. Now here you can see that it's starting to begin with a Cloud Shell. Then there will be a authentication. And after that, the authentication once done, then you get a prompt where you can use PowerShell or Bash. So just to show you, you have two options here, PowerShell and Bash. The important thing to notice here is that we are in Azure portal. So that is one thing. We are running Azure portal on a browser, Chrome browser. Then we have two options, PowerShell and Bash, to run within the Azure portal. Now with that quick demo, which I just showed you on the Azure portal, it's easy to identify the correct options. The correct options are use Bash in Azure Cloud Shell or use PowerShell in Azure Cloud Shell. And of course, we are running both Bash and PowerShell from the Azure portal. So these are the three correct options. Friends, as you all know, to ease out your learning, I share the PDF version of the PPT containing all question and answer. So if you are also looking for the PDF version of part 10 PPT, then you have to tell me the answers that I picked for question number 131 and 138. Watch the video very carefully so you don't miss any important question. Now coming to our question number 135. This is a yes/no kind of question. So let's read the first statement. The first statement says that from Azure Service Health, an administrator can view the health of all the services in Azure environment. The correct answer is yes. Azure Service Health provides a personalized view of the health of the Azure services and regions that you are using. So this is the best service where you can view the health of all the other services in the Azure environment. Moving on with the second statement, we have from Azure Service Health, an administrator can create a rule to be alerted if Azure service fails. The correct answer for this one is yes. Yes, you can use Azure Service Health not only to view the health of the services, but also to create an alert mechanisms if any of your service fails. Then we have the third statement which says from Azure Service Health, an administrator can prevent a service failure. The correct answer for this one is no. As I just mentioned that you can use Azure Service Health to view the health of the services. You can additionally also create the rules if any service fail. However, by no means Azure Service Health can prevent any service failure. That's why the answer is no. Then moving on with our question number 136, again a yes/no kind of question. This one says that Azure Advisor can generate a list of Azure virtual machines that are not backed up. The correct answer for this is yes. You can surely use Azure Advisor to generate a list of virtual machines that are not backed up. Then we have second statement that says that if you implement the security recommendations provided by Azure Advisor, your company secure score will increase. The correct answer is yes. I mentioned this in the question number 131 as well, where I gave you a quick demo of Azure Advisor. And there I showed you that Azure Advisor provides you recommendations on various levels. So you have recommendations on cost, security, performance, and many more. So if you implement those recommendations, definitely your company's secure score will increase. Moving on with the third statement, we have to maintain Microsoft support, you must implement security recommendations provided by Azure Advisor within a period of 30 days. The correct answer is no. If you read the statement very carefully, this one says that these are security recommendations. So recommendations are optional thing. It's very good that if you can implement those recommendations. So recommendations are great in terms of bringing down the cost or improving performance or security of your Azure application. However, they are still recommendations. They are not mandate from Microsoft Azure that you have to implement recommendations. So that's why the answer is no. Coming to question number 137. This says that your company plans to deploy an artificial intelligence or AI solution in Azure. What should the company use to train and deploy models in Azure machine learning? So your options are Azure Logic Apps or Azure Machine Learning Designer, Azure Batch or Azure Cosmos DB. Let's go to the Microsoft documentation to find out the correct answer. Now I am on a Microsoft documentation that talks more about Azure Machine Learning Designer. So if you will read the very first line, it says that Azure Machine Learning Designer is a drag and drop interface that is used to train and deploy models in Azure Machine Learning. And that's the exact what our question is also asking for. Thus, the correct answer for this question is Azure Machine Learning Designer. Coming to question number 138, it says that you have an Azure web app. You need to manage the settings of web app from an iPhone. What tool you can use? So you are given with many options like Linux, Azure Portal, Windows PowerShell, and Azure Storage Explorer. Before we find out the answer, let me tell you that this question is also a variation of question number 134 that we just saw in the previous slides. And these variations are quite important. That's why I build in all the variations of the same questions, the different ways the Microsoft can put that question to you so that you are very well prepared for the certification. And in question number 134 also, I showed you how you can use Azure PowerShell or Azure Bash from Azure Portal. So the correct answer for this question is also Azure Portal, because you can run Azure Portal from any browser, and here we have an iPhone and you can very well run a browser in iPhone, and using that browser you can open Azure Portal, and from that portal you can run Azure Cloud Shell with two variations. Either you can use PowerShell or you can use a Bash. So that's why we have chosen Azure Portal. Moving on with the next question, we have question number 139. This one is a drag and drop kind of question. So here on the left hand side, you are given some of the keywords and you have to match these keywords with the definitions given on the right hand side. So let's read the first definition. It says that analyze security log files from Azure virtual machines. So what do you think is the correct option? Do you think it's Azure Active Directory or Key Vault, Azure Lighthouse, Azure Security Center, or Azure Sentinel? The correct answer for this one is Azure Sentinel. Moving on with the second statement, we have display the secure score for an Azure subscription. The correct answer for this is Azure Security Center. Then we have store password for use by Azure Function application. The correct answer for this is Azure Key Vault. Just an added tip that not only you can use Azure Key Vault to store passwords for Azure functions, you can use Azure Key Vault to store password for pretty much any service. You can also store certificates in Azure Key Vault. So a very good service by Microsoft to keep your credentials, passwords, important certificates in a very safe repository. Coming to question number 140, which is the last question for our part 10 of our AZ-900 real exam question and answer series. This one again is a drag and drop kind of question, and you are presented with some of the keywords here or Microsoft services, and on the right hand side you are given with some definitions. So you have to match these definitions with these Microsoft Azure services. The first definition says a managed relational cloud database service. The correct answer for this definition is Azure SQL database. Then the second definition says a cloud-based service that leverages on massively parallel processing MPP to quickly run complex queries across petabytes of data in relational database. The correct answer for this definition is Azure SQL Synapse Analytics. Just a quick tip from my side, whenever in the question you see massively parallel processing MPP and it also talks about petabytes of data, or you can say big amount of data, then you can always safely go for Azure SQL Synapse Analytics. Moving on with the third definition, it says can run massively parallel data transformation and processing program across petabyte of data. The correct answer for this definition is Azure Data Lake Analytics. Coming to the fourth definition, we have an open source framework for distributed processing and analysis of big data set in clusters. The correct answer for this is Azure HD Insight. I hope you enjoyed part 10 containing 10 very important questions as much as I did presenting to you. Also friends, remember that we have already covered 140 questions and this series will contain one more part, part 11, that will also contain a set of 10 more questions. Once again to mention, besides this 11 parts, I will also take a bonus part where I will take all of your questions and answer them in that bonus part. So be ready and put all your questions and doubts in the comment section so that I can compile every questions and bring up the answers to them in the bonus part. If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning and thanks for watching.